Peace, what's happening, you all? My name is Stacy Patrice, and I wanted to talk to you today about friendships. And the reason I want to talk about friendships is I have been encountering people that seem to believe that there is a difference between friendships and romantic relationships outside of the physical. And it has been a very interesting phenomenon to me because over the years, this is a recurring theme, is people thinking that friendships are one thing, romantic relationships are another thing, and they don't cross the line. And I think that this is a short-sightedness as it relates to definition. What is a friendship to you? What is a friendship to you? When you say someone is a friendship, is that just simply stating someone you're not having sex with? Or is a friendship have its own place in your life? And then let's go and look at the relationship. What is a relationship to you? Is that just someone you're having sex with? Or does it have its own life? And by its own life, I mean its own culture. Relationships are created equal. It is us who create the distinctions. So if you think about relationships, and you say relationships as just a general term, anyone you have a connection with that you are in agreement that you two are going to continue to explore this connection is a relationship. And by my definition of friendships, friendships are people who we find fondness for at different stages of our lives. And we find there is a certain connection with this person because we like some of the same things. We have some of the same interests. We might have the same expectations. We might enjoy talking with each other. We might enjoy some of the same interests. We might be on the same mission. We might want to collaborate and do work together. And we find joy and happiness and, connectivity. We might meet a person who's a teacher for a reason, a season, a lifetime, as they say. Or we might really just find people that are curious about us or we are curious about. We share curiosity and we want to get to know what that is because we don't have a definition for it or a distinction for it. We just want to get to know what that is. So to me, that is where relationships are born. Relationships are actually born from friendships when they are holistic and proper, right? They're born from friendships. So when people say that friendships don't have things that relationships have, it makes me pause. Or they say relationships have, this finite thing, but friendships don't, is interesting. I know people who think that friendships are different because friendships can be anybody of any sex, but relationships are only the ones that they choose. Well, doesn't this just prove what I said at the beginning? I said that relationships, we create the distinction, right? But all relationships are created equal. It's just we create the distinctions. So if you say, I only want to be friends with this person, but I really want to date this person, then what I am hearing is that you want to be friends with this person and turn that into a romantic interest or allow that to be a romantic interest as well, at least for a time. It may not be forever, but at least for a time until you decide otherwise, which is very different than this energy of friendships. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because how many times you have a friendship and you have an anxiousness about where that friendship has to go and you lead with it and you're like, we have to get to this point by this year at this time and do these things. And that's just what it is. But it's very easy for people to get in relationships and get desperate and hungry and say, we have to do this thing at this time, and this is where we're headed, and this is what it is. So, why does that happen in relationships? It doesn't happen in friendships. And I think the main answer around that is because relationships have the pressure of the physicality. It is what makes them distinct. So people have certain distinctions that are usually time oriented or money oriented or feeling oriented or demand oriented around certain things in their lives. Whereas with friends, these things can happen at any time if this friend is going to be with you forever. And we always think our friends will be around for a bit. It's not a lot of people that'll say, oh, I became friends with this person, but I knew they weren't going to be around long. It happens, and maybe you can call it, but you don't typically seek those kinds of friendships out. You typically those kind of relationships happen that way. And so, yes, I'm using friendship and relationship interchangeably. The distinction is in whether it is platonic or romantic, but I think they're all relationships. And I really want people to treat friendships like relationships because in my friendships, I want all of me to be able to show up there the same way I feel in my relationships. In my friendships, I am very interested in having a connection and an intimacy with a person. Doesn't matter who they are, where they are in life. If we're friends, that is something that not only do I want to be forthright about the fact that I am interested in, but I also am curious about where that connection is for us. Like, so the more I know about you is where we can find the intersection of why we're even here. And people do that in romantic relationships all the time. What is it that you want? Why are you here? What are your intentions? But they don't do it in friendships. It's kind of strange, right? So then I'll look at it from the standpoint of your friends, and you being a friend is about support, it's about connectivity, it's about a lot of shared things, shared interests, shared thoughts, feelings, ideas, beliefs, paths, lives, missions. Like I said, all of these things that may be in common, but you don't want that in your relationship. You only want that in your friendship. So a man once told me, I had to pause to say if that's what I wanted to call him. He once told me that my friendships were too intimate for him. Hmm. So you mean the people who were around before you, which helped work and cultivate in the same world that I was in, that made me attracted to you, is too much for you? That's interesting, right? Another person told me at one point that I don't want you to be my friend because I want to be with you. If I didn't want to be with you, then you could be my friend. But I'm not interested in a person being my friend that I want to be with. Don't nobody want to be with their friend. People want to be with the person they want to be with. They don't want to be with their friend. And it was only perplexing to me because he articulated it like it was so clear. But it was perplexing because it was like, so what you're saying is you don't want a friendship with a partner. Your partner is a transaction. It's a person that you only get to be with in a particular way, and that's their benefit. Is that you don't want to mix the whole person into your life. You just want that piece over there with them, and you'll get the wholeness over there with them. So you want church and state. That's what you're saying, right? And it's essentially what he was saying. um, and he could have just said that, but he made a big thing about it, like as if they were two separate things. And I know that there are many people who think that. I literally just saw a comment right before I came and did this video, which I was already planning to do this video. It's a comment on someone else's post. And someone said, how are these two people friends? They're nothing alike. And then the person it was two women, two celebrities. So how are they friends? They're nothing alike. And then the person on the post said, I guess opposites attract. And then the person that made the first comment said, I thought that was just for relationships. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the right rhythm of doing what I'm supposed to be doing because this is what I was talking about anyway. And it made me chuckle a little bit because it was like, yeah, people just don't understand. Relationships are energy. Relationship. That means what we have together is going somewhere. It's not two ships passing in the night all the time. Sometimes that happens too. Sometimes you have two people and the relationship is just that overlap section. It's just this period right here, and then it's done, right? But this thing about relationships having rules that friendships don't, when relationships that are healthy are born from friendships, is the point that I'm trying to make. And you need to know this because you also have to learn how to be a friend to your family. You're not just there for love. It's not just about love. You have to also find a way to relate to your relatives. And if you can't relate to your relatives, that is your job, is to figure out what that's about, because they too are part of your energetic universe. It's not just the friendships, it's not just the partnerships and relationships, it is also your relatives. Anything that has the word relate in it is what I'm talking about. Okay, so anyone you relate to or could relate to. Some relationships you may not work on as hard because you're like, listen, I don't even care about that relationship. Like the relationship with your boss or someone that you work with. You might say, my coworkers or my boss, I don't really need that relationship. I have everything I need and those relationships don't matter. But if this is where you spend most of your time, because you're not at home more than you're at work if you work a standard job, why is that relationship not important? And so this poison that people have about romantic relationship only being a certain thing starts to permeate through other things. And I say take it at the base. The relationship is what we're talking about. And whatever distinction you create with it is your business. But we're talking about the relationship. So the first relationship that most people have to have in order to understand what I'm talking about is a relationship with what? With whom? And most people are going to go straight to the Most High. They're going to go straight to God. That relationship showed up intact. Now, however you have made distinctions, again, is up to you. But I'm also saying a relationship with yourself is important. Your relationship with yourself is going to inform that connection, that divine connection, that interconnection with others, that super connection with the cosmic universe. It's going to define it because it's the lens that you're looking through at all these things. When you're not looking through the lens of relationship, everything feels random. And in a soul intelligent perspective, you are always looking at, seeking, paying attention to, acknowledging, naming, understanding, defining, eliminating, inviting relationship to things. Your connectivity to the energetic universe is about what is your relationship to these things. My relationship to this pen is going to be different than my relationship to my phone. Some people will have a stronger relationship with this pen, or maybe another pen will have a stronger relationship because they're always writing. But if this is where I have all my keepsakes, this may be more private and personal and intimate to me and a greater asset to me than this. But if all of a sudden I left my charger, this might be the better asset because I can keep going if I have this, whereas this won't go that distance without a charge. Relationships work a lot like that. The people that you encounter are often cited as being responsible for how far you travel. I tell people that every creature has a teacher. Every single person that comes into your life has the potential to teach you. People have distinctions around that. Don't ever take advice from nobody who ain't done what you're trying to do. Is that true? Are you a divine being? Because if you are, you can even hear God in the voice of people who don't know anything about what you were asking. But the fact that they showed up to answer it doesn't mean that they're answering your question for you. They're not telling you and giving you advice. They just are the answer. And the same thing is true when it comes to the relationships you intentionally cultivate. Sometimes they are the answer. You might not know why. You might not know whether long term they're going to be the pen or the phone. You have no idea the distance they're going to travel, but they may show up in your life in a way that really helps you realize they are the answer. So when we're looking at the larger landscape of relationships, it's always explaining our connectivity. It's always explaining where we feel comfortable, where we feel challenged, where we feel intimate, and where we feel private, where we feel most like ourselves, where we need to be more of ourselves, where we are listening, where we are sharing, where we are hearing, where we are speaking. This is the playground. It is relationships. It is the energetic exchange between us and between all things if you start to master what your relationships look like on your own. Okay, so I want you to think about that and I want you to think about it and share in the comments what you think about it because a lot of times people see them as different. Do you see them as different? Do you see relationships as just being this thing that happens with certain people? Or do you understand your relationship to all people? Do you understand relationships as different when they are friendships than when they are romantic? How do you even get to romantic without understanding relationships on a friendship level? Are you friends with your partner or are you just with your partner? Is your partner a friend to you or are they just gaining from you? Just exchanging certain things with you, like money and favors? What is the relationship? Is your family clear about who you are, or do you leave them in the dark because of past hurts? Have you figured out what that relationship can look like? And not just on the standpoint of, what a mother is supposed to be, what a daughter is supposed to be, what a son is supposed, not that, but the relationship of how do you share being that this is intimate between you and this person in your life? who you are related to, you are connected to. What is the relationship? You define it. What is the relationship? Remember, you're the one that makes the distinctions. So someone can say a role, but that doesn't mean that it has your definition. Friend can be interpreted a million different ways by a million different people, and some that are the same. And so it's like you have to understand that you're creating the distinctions, and the distinctions that you are creating are coming from your experience. They're coming from your connections and your connectivity. And I have a relationship to everything you're seeing in this frame, as well as everything you're not seeing in this frame, as well as what it takes to get this to you, as well as what conversations have happened over here before I turn this on. So those connectivities that happen in all these different sectors and aspects of life do show up in the new space. So your relationship here does affect your relationship there. It does start to permeate and build, cultivate, turn over, enhance, expand, enliven. That's what connectivity is about. And so the joy of connectivity is understanding connectivity no matter what the relationship is. And saying, what do I do for this person that I feel a certain way about? What is it that I am comfortable with them? And then what was it I would like to do that maybe I'm not comfortable with? And how can I get there? This is a person that likes to work on relationships, which I'm that person. And then I also know how to let go of relationships. I'm also not hoarding and holding on to relationships that no longer have the magnetism and the connectivity. You have to retire things that don't feel like things that enliven you. Retire what makes you tired. Okay. I want y'all to think about that. Leave it in the comments. I look forward to talking to you soon. Again, I'm Stacey Patrice. Thank you so much for listening. Nurture, pay attention to, and identify what's happening in your relationships. And ask yourself if you see things as very, very distinct and different and separate, what happened that created that? Why are you seeing it that way? All right. Love y'all. Big love. Peace.